Are you? Welcome, 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 welcome. Giving you a second to hop on. We're doing Monday Soul Deliciousness. So if you have never seen this before, you're in for a fantastic treat. Even if you have seen it before, you're in for a fantastic treat. So hop on, say hello, tell me where you're from. Making sure that I got all my stuff set up here because, every once in a while I go live and then I realize that I didn't actually hit the button. So I'm just talking to myself, which is really cool, but I'm really good at it and I do it all the time. Hello, Shelly. How are you? Welcome, welcome. Oh, goodness. Welcome, welcome. Oh my gosh, guys. I just had the most fantastic, beautiful session with someone. Oh, it was good. Oh, it was good. Willard, but you know what? We all know you laugh. You make the laughy face, but you all know that everyone on this side drives all the way over there so that we can go eat at Maddox. All right. Okay. So good evening. Hello, Lisa. Welcome to Soul Deliciousness. We are going to talk about something cool. I sort of pieced this together with a couple of different things. And then after I was done, I was like, ooh, I really love this. So the first thing I was thinking about, I started thinking about people and their limiting negative beliefs that they get taught all their life. And when I did, I was like, what if, hypothetically speaking, we just had the ability to stop listening to people when they say stuff to us that's damaging. I mean, honestly, right? That would be the easiest, is if we could just turn it off. But then I thought, okay, so we obviously can't just stop listening. That's not physically possible. But what if we had this beautiful filter so that when someone says something to us that's negative or that isn't uplifting, that doesn't bring us to a higher place of good, that we could filter it completely out. And instead of it actually affecting us, we would just filter it out and it would be gone, right? Just like particles being filtered out of, your car's oil so that it doesn't cycle back through. You just would never get it. You would hear it, but it wouldn't resonate with your soul at all. And so as I sat with myself thinking about what we should discuss tonight, that was the first thing that came up for me. And I thought, ooh, let's find 3 beautiful, soul delicious ways that we can do that. So, we don't have a beautiful filter, but we kind of do. So think about it when someone says something to you. The selective hearing, right? Yeah, my kids are really good at it. When someone says something to me, the first thing that I'm going to think about is, okay, fantastic. Is this serving me in some way? Is what you're saying to me actually serving me in some way for my better good or for the better good of anyone else? If it's not, then really I'm not going to put any effort into listening to what you're saying. I'm not going to take any action on what you're saying. I'm not going to rearrange my life. I'm not going to feel bad about myself. I'm not going to adjust or do anything, right? So that's a really good phrase. I love that phrase. Does this serve me in some way? I even ask myself that all the time. If I'm like having an emotion, I'm like, yeah, is this serving me in some way to worry about this? Is this serving me in some way to do this? Or maybe I'm like overly stressed. And so I'll ask myself right now in this moment. So here's a great example. I have literally got, I don't even know, 20 boxes sitting in my foyer of empty boxes of stuff that has been shipped over the past week. And it needs to be broken down and recycled. And so when I came home, I had to do a session and it was an in-person session and I didn't have time to clean it up before I went live. And so I started to frazzle and freak and be like, oh my gosh, I've got to clean all this out because this person's going to come over and walk into my foyer. And honestly, to tell you, she actually asked if I was moving. That's how many boxes I have in the foyer. So I initially was like, running around and I was going to clear it all out, right? Grab all the boxes and throw them into another room. And then I thought to myself, no, I'm about to do a session and scrambling to clean this mess up is not really serving me in any way. As what I really need to do is I need to go into my office. I need to detach from my corporate job. I need to bring in the beautiful energy into my office. I need to get into the zen of what I'm doing. And I need to, let the energy start to resonate so that I can do a beautiful session with, my client. Yay, Lisa, I forgot to ask you that this morning, but I was wondering over the weekend. I'm glad that their birthday party was a success. So I didn't clean up the boxes. I left it. She came in and asked me if I was moving. And I was like, no, we just got an enormous amount of shipments of stuff last week between my kids' car parts and who knows what is all in there. And she was like, oh, and I think I ordered crackers and I had a whole bunch of keto stuff and some vitamins. And so it just, it added up. But I didn't freak out about it. It wasn't going to serve me to get all that cleaned up. So I let it go. Next one, because this is really difficult for people. I'm going to ask myself when someone gives me some type of thought or negative belief, or maybe it is the positive or whatever it is there something to learn from this? So if somebody says something to me, I'm going to do some keyword self-reflection, which can be really difficult for those of you that don't know how to sit with your shadows. I'm going to do some self-reflection and think to myself, is there something to learn from what this person is saying to me? And if there is, right, then I'm going to take it and run with it and become a better person from it. So is there something to learn from it? Doing some self-reflection, like maybe my actions were not the best. And so I'm using that as a way to better myself. So the reason that I brought this up was because I started thinking about some of the restrictions that we have. And in fact, when I was at work, I contemplating that maybe I would do Soul Deliciousness and talk about my story, because I actually have a client that I had over the weekend, and she was like, I don't know anything about anything that's happened to you. And I said, oh my goodness, how have you not heard my story at all? But then I started kind of getting into the moment, and this is what resonated with me more, but I do want to bring this in. So limiting beliefs, what's the big deal? People are saying stuff because we do the whole sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt. That in and of itself is a very actually psychologically damaging phrase. Words are very, very, very damaging. And so, but we're taught all our life, right? What? Like, it doesn't matter what people are saying. And we kind of like underplay it. Oh, they didn't hit you. They just said something to you. Kids like, where was I the other day? There were some kids that, it was the Tayson school. I was dropping Tayson off for school. And there were some kids that got off the bus that were calling each other like really horrible names, and names that I don't even want to repeat. But I was like, I get that these kids are just goofing around, but really they don't understand, like, where is this coming from? And unfortunately, some of that stuff sticks, even if we don't want it to. So I put this on a scale for us so we could like sort of resonate and see how this has affected us. And you may be like, wow, this has affected me as well. And I should try to potentially make sure I'm not doing it to my kids. Making sure that, you're getting rid of some of these thoughts that you have been told yourself. And understanding that if you're sitting there right now and you have a limitation, that probably that limitation was simply embedded into your head by someone in your past that told you that you couldn't do something. So here's a couple that I came up with, right? I don't have a degree, so I can't earn any more money than what I'm getting. If that's the thought that I have in my head, so if I have a limiting thought in my head that I'm stuck in the position that I'm in because I don't have a degree, what will I automatically do? I manifest that I will sit in this position for the rest of my life because I don't have a degree. So that limiting belief now becomes a reality for me. And now I am basing my life off of this limiting belief because at a point, probably my parents trying to be great and helping me out told me that if I don't go to college and get a degree, then I will never be able to own a Lamborghini. And so here I sit with that in my head, thinking that I can never excel in life because I don't have a degree. Another one, this one was the one that really resonated for me. I'm a girl, so I can't. When I was in the Air Force, we were doing a Boys and Girls Club tour. And so I was out at the airplane that I flew. and the girl and boys club came out to take a little tour on the plane. And so I remember being up, like telling the kids all about, all the stuff in the airplane. And there was a girl, I bet she was at least 14. I would guess 14, 15. And she said to me, and this was in Kansas, in Wichita, Kansas, she said to me, when I introduced myself and said who I was and that I was the pilot and this is the airplane that I flew, she was so overwhelmed. She was like, you fly this? And I said, yes. Now this girl, and I'm only saying this because I want to resonate with you, that she had full capacity to understand. This is just like the background and the environment that she was raised in. She said, as a girl, they let you fly this plane. And I said, yes. And she said, are you even allowed to do the takeoff and the landing? And I said, yes. And she said, wow, I had no idea that they would let a female do that. And, this was like, I don't know, 15 years ago, maybe. So that really was just overwhelming to me, that I was like, where, right? Who put that negative thought in this girl's head that she's a girl and so she can't do things based off of her gender, and for her, it was her race as well, I'm sure was playing a part in it. And so she had some really big thoughts in her head that were limiting her from being able to, understand that she could do anything she set her mind to. So I hoped that from that day forward that she realized, like, you can dream big, you can make it happen, whatever you want for yourself. Don't let people tell you otherwise. Another one that I thought was really interesting, that really affects us with the things that people put into our heads, is medical diagnosis. I see that one a lot, like where I'll run into a client that no matter what we clear away, the next time that they have a session, they have a new medical diagnosis. And it almost becomes like a habit, right? And so anytime they have something, like wake up in the morning and then, they're running to the doctor or they're Googling it and then they're like, well, now I have this. And that is very, very much, Mary, very proven, that when you get a diagnosis for something, that you can actually immediately develop the symptoms of the diagnosis. And it's not saying that people don't have illnesses and disease. Don't get me wrong, they do. But our brains have the capacity to make them even bigger than they were before. And we're going to talk about that next, because we're going to really focus on this thing that I like to call what you imagine is your reality. That has to be one of the seriously most true phrases that I have ever run across. What you imagine is your reality. So if I go into a doctor's office and I accidentally get the test results back from another person, and this happens, I accidentally get a test result back for another person and I get told that I have cancer, and then I don't hear back from 2 weeks. What do you think my cognitive mind does to my body? It starts to deteriorate it, because I start to feel emotions. I start to feel stressed. I start to feel fear, confusion, overwhelm. What is going on inside of my body? Well, when we stop focusing on the physical part of our body, right, and we remember that we really are an energy, we're this beautiful soul, this beautiful energy shoved inside this physical body, that those emotions are now taking a toll on my energy flow. And so, yes, my body reacts appropriately and starts to show symptoms, because what are they? I keep freezing up. There's not anything I can do. So I'm sorry if I'm freezing up. We just have to go with it, because that is the internet connection that I have. So our body uses those energies and starts developing symptoms, or those blocks in our energies. Our body starts developing symptoms, and then ultimately they just become worse and worse as the flow of our energy and our body continues to be blocked. And so now we went from having, um, a small little issue where we're kind of a little tired to now we're in like full blown fatigue, and maybe it's developing into something even worse. Like now we're feeling like we have complete insomnia, and possibly symptoms are developing that are associated with fibromyalgia or who knows what. And so that is how we end up on this big plane where we're going in and getting a diagnosis, and then we start into the cycle. We get on medication, and the medication creates problems, and then we're on a medication to take care of the medication. And I have seen a woman who looked like she was about to pass away in a wheelchair that could not even walk anymore move on and have a absolute completely fantastic normal life as far as her health goes, because she had been placed on a medication for an issue and then got placed on another one and another one and another one, and it was actually the medication that was taking her to her grave. And I don't know what part of her path she ran across where someone said, let's detox you and start from scratch because things aren't working. And when they did, her body snapped right out of it, and she is completely fine today. So, what you imagine is your reality. What you believe becomes your reality. If I think about some other things that become limitations for me, here's another one that's really big. If I make a mistake, I am a bad person. So what did I just tell myself? Anytime I make a mistake, I'm a bad person. So those, right, reverse. So anytime I make a mistake, I tell myself that I'm a bad person, because when I was younger, someone taught me that if I make a mistake, I am a bad person because I get punished for it. I get told that I did something wrong, and on it goes. So I want to bring you to a place where you don't have boundaries. I know that sounds kind of scary. You're like, what? Right? Because once again, you've been taught without boundaries. Ooh, what does that mean? I want you to be comfortable in a place where you don't have boundaries. I want you to be comfortable in a place where there are no fences. Lisa, I turned my Pandora off, and I hoped that that would help my streaming a little better, but I'm going to assume that we potentially have too many people on the internet, so it's having stress. Hopefully that's a little better. All right, so no boundaries, no fences. What in the world does that mean? This is seriously why I visualize myself, and it sounds hilarious to someone that doesn't know me, but seriously why I visualize myself as good. Okay, good. As a crazy magical unicorn, a crazy magical energy, a crazy magical ball of sparkly spadazzle, because it allows me to keep the mindset during my day, keep the mindset during anything that I'm dealing with. When I start getting stressed out about something, when I start like kind of going down that rabbit hole of, oh my gosh, I can't do this, imagining myself as this energy source instead of a body helps me to get rid of limitations. I was talking with someone the other day, and she made a comment about how detached she feels. And she's like, I seriously just feel like I do not belong here. And I'm just like having this weird experience. And I'm like, well, you kind of are. And she said, what? And I said, no, we are, right? And I can't remember how exactly I worded it. I wish I would have wrote it down, but I said something like, you are a energy, you are a spirit trapped in this really limiting freaking physical body. And I told her, I said, you're just frustrated with your physical body because of its limitations. And she said, you're right. Right? I'm like, but really, where did you come from? And what kind of limitations did you have before you took on this body? Because in my opinion, I came from a place where I didn't have the limitations that my physical body is now giving me. And so I really think that a lot of our problem and a lot of the things that we deal with right now in this specific moment that we're in, this dimension that we're experiencing, this physical life, is a lot of it is just, man, I think your energy and your spirit knows better. I think it knows the realm of no limitations, and it's very difficult. And then your cognitive mind is constantly telling you, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. When in reality, if you really had full faith, you could do anything that you wanted. Um, so imagining no boundaries, no fences, visualizing. So someone said, well, how do you deal with people when they're saying something and it makes you feel like really uncomfortable, right? Maybe somebody wants to have a confrontation with you, or maybe you have to say some hard words to someone else. They're like, how do you manage that? How do you be in this place where negative underlying beliefs don't start to creep in? Because that's what happens. We start having a conversation with someone else, we start self-doubting. It's because someone else in the past has led us to believe that we are inadequate in whatever we are doing or talking about. So I tell people that, visualizing. You're always told, like, visualize the people in their underwear, right? Ha ha. And then you'll start laughing. And that was something that I was always taught as a kid. I don't necessarily think that ever really worked for me, but in a way, this works on a different scale. So if someone is projecting or someone is acting a certain way, my thought is usually always going to go to that person has something going on outside of what I can see. So if I tell myself that, like, I'm looking at a person that is reacting a certain way, and maybe that reaction is not comfortable to me. Maybe that reaction is difficult to deal with. Maybe that reaction, like, I feel like it's directed at me in a negative way. Then I remind myself, like, hey, this person is 100% human. I don't know what is going on. Maybe this is somebody I just run into at Walmart and they're just being like super obnoxious, like at the checkout or something. Or maybe they have not a clue how they're acting and they're like, I don't know, there's a lady, right? When people are on their phones, I feel like they don't have a clue and they're just like in the way with their shopping cart. And it's like, hello. Or maybe you see somebody react out of character. Maybe it's someone that you actually know and you see them act a certain way. Maybe you're not really close enough to them that you feel like you can say, hey, are you okay? Just remember that that person is dealing with all the issues that you're probably dealing with in life too. Um, I've talked with friends before that I feel like if I was an outsider looking in, I would never guess that they have any of the things going on that they do. Right. And I only know that they do because they've confided that they have an issue going on. So keep that in mind anytime you're looking at someone else and you're like, oh, yeah, I probably, maybe they're projecting and I don't understand that something horrible happened in their family last night, or they're struggling with an issue with their kid not sleeping, or they're having a problem with their spouse. We tend to sit back and we feel that we're so, why can't I be normal? Why can't I be emotionally stable? Why is this happening to me? Why do I wake up and I feel tired? Why do I wake up and I'm depressed? Why do I wake up and I feel like there's nothing in life for me? Why am I struggling with this illness or this sickness? And um, the first thing I'll always tell you is stop resisting it. So stop trying to find the why, right? Sit with yourself. Just feel it. You're right. I feel depressed. I do. I feel it. Oh, and now because I acknowledged it instead of resisted it, it starts to dissipate. So don't resist those things. There is no normal. Okay. Nobody is perfect. No one is normal. I don't even know what that means, but there is no true meaning behind that. It is all an imaginary reality that you have in your head, that there is somewhere out there that someone is normal and that someone does not deal with stuff. That person does not exist. There is no one that has not made a mistake or made a decision that they regret. There is no one, you know, that I mean, and I'm not even joking about this, but I made this, I saw this on, I think it's Talladega Nights. And so, there is no one save sweet baby Jesus on a pony that has not been in this life and made a mistake. So stop beating yourself up because it is a fantasy. So visualizing, imagining, remembering people are dealing with stuff, they projecting it. I was reading this beautiful book, and I'm not quite to the point yet where I'm implementing it into my practice, but I'm super close because it's so delicious. But it's all about believing in what you believe and how much of that plays into everything that is affecting you. So this methodology that I'm studying right now is super focused on stress. And so as I was reading about it, and then later had a moment today where I was actually leaving work and I thought, I'm going to do something. I'm going to see just in the time that I go into the locker room and change out of my uniform and go outside, how many times I feel like I could be stressed out about something. And so I decided to do it. And I will tell you that I bet that I had some kind of thought growth go through my mind that created a small little smidget of a stressor every 5 to 10 seconds. And I was like, wow, I don't think that I've ever realized how much we do that. And it was from everything like looking at my pants and thinking I needed to do laundry to trying to remember my locker combination to thinking about what I was going to do when I went home to making sure that I had my keys. Like you don't really think about that, but right? All those things are little teeny tiny stressors. I was in a time crunch, right? Ooh, hurrying. Washing my hands. Did I wash my hands long enough after I went to the bathroom? I mean, everything, right? So many little stressors. So the methodology that I'm reading about is basically aligning itself with every physical ailment that you've ever had has potentially been caused by stress. And I'm totally realizing, there we go. I was like, where did all my stuff go here? Okay. And as I'm reading this, I loved a page that I got to, and it's talked about how knowledge in the field of medicine and in the field of how our bodies respond to emotions and stress is in this beautiful place. He called it a healing paradigm shift. And I thought, heck to the yes. Like I'm seeing it every day. I'm seeing so many gifted people understanding and realizing and finding their gifts to being able to help other people with their energy flows and blocks. And it's amazing. And so many people with PhDs and doctorate degrees that are diving into this field of energy instead of just looking at traditional medicines. In fact, the book that I am reading is two doctors that have looked really closely at measuring stress in people. And I'm all super big on data. And so there is a spot where he talks about in 1998. So Dr. Bruce Lipton of Stanford, he studies stress and finds that stress causes 95% of all illnesses and disease. So of course, some of us are like, well, wait, what's the other 5? And then I initially knew because I see this every day, but it was cool because as I read it, I was like, bingo. So 95% of all the things that you're struggling with or dealing with caused by stress. And I'm talking about like blocks of being able to progress with abundance, blocks with being able to heal from a disease or an illness, blocks with sleep, blocks with self-sabotage and your self-esteem, whatever it is. They attribute this all back to stress. And so the other 5% of stress comes from ancestral or DNA. Why wouldn't it? If we have that much stress going on, why wouldn't you be able to pass that on to your DNA? Well, we know that you can. I've seen stress be passed in DNA. I've seen sicknesses. I saw, what did I see today? Something kind of interesting. I saw a miasm, which is a stress or a sickness energy from 56 generations. That was oh my gosh, I can't even find it. I can't remember what it was, but it was really crazy. Parasite from a spinal fluid parasite. Yeah, spinal fluid parasite. Who wants to carry around a spinal fluid parasite for 56 generations? Probably not your ancestors, but that's how that works. And so, yeah, 5% stressors and trapped things like parasites and things that our body can't fight off because we're stressed get passed into our DNA. I loved it because they also quoted the CDC and the Mayo Clinic and Harvard, who backed this up, that absolutely stressors are a contributing factor to disease and illness and everything that you have going on. I also thought too, I was like, man, how do you get people to understand this? How do you get people to think that maybe it's all in your head? Maybe it is all in your head. But here's the cool thing is that I see these beautiful things be used on animals and children. And guess what? Placebo effects are not possible on animals for sure. Neither are they possible on babies. They're just not, because animals and babies don't have the ability to rationalize, to know, right? They can't get it in their head. So there we go. All right. So stress causes relationship issues. How does stress cause income issues? Because same thing. You get super stressed out, your energy flow stops going. And guess what? We have this cool thing that happens. It's not really cool. It's called creative insecurity. And our minds stop working. And oh man, I remember when I had my business. So I had this business a long time ago. It's called Country Gourmet Home. And my first spouse and I ran it together. And we would get super busy, super overwhelmed. So we made dehydrated food mixes. And these dehydrated food mixes were sold we were part of the Direct Sales Association. And so just like many of you are selling Avon and all that stuff, we had a direct sales platform. So I would have consultants buy a kit, and then they would sell these mixes and do these little parties where they would make food, and then people would buy it, right? And our whole mantra behind it was, I can't remember, making life easier, making something easier. I don't know. But it was all about, like, I had food mixes, and you just added water. So I had a pumpkin chocolate chip bread mix, and all you added was water. So everything that I produced and that we made required simple ingredients. And that was the whole theme behind what we did. And I remember one day, Shane getting so stressed out that he would and I realized over time this was happening. So it was great because I could be like, hey, you're doing this, let's figure this out. He would get to a point where he would be so stressed out that he would sit down to work at his computer. And then instead of working, he would just spend hours on Yahoo, looking at the news. Facebook wasn't quite as crazily big as it was back then, but he would just be reading stuff and then get really distracted. And then, he would get up and go do something else. And so it would get to be 2 hours into the day and he hadn't actually done anything. And so, I would have to talk to him and be like, hey, what's going on? And it was always something to do with he was overwhelmed, financially stressed. And so when he got like that, and I knew that we were stressed about money, his brain would just shut down. And now that I understand energy and everything, it makes total sense. But back then I was like, I don't know what's going on here. To me, it's a no-brainer that if you are stressed about money, the worst thing that you could do to yourself is not be productive with your time, right? But he would get so overwhelmed, he just couldn't do it. He couldn't function. It was overtaking him. And so Stress does cause income problems. Stress causes relationship problems when you're stressed out about something. Sometimes we grow up in a family where we have so many stressors that then when we get into a beautiful spot in our families or with our relationships, that we don't even know how to not have stress. And so then guess what we do? We self-sabotage and we create the stress ourselves. So we do that a lot with relationships, right? We create an argument with our spouse when after we look at it, we're like, I don't even know what I was doing. That was so dumb. And a lot of times it's because we need that outlet. Like we don't feel comfortable without being abused. We don't feel comfortable without somebody talking down to us all the time. We don't feel comfortable with these large amounts of stress. So then when we get in the place where there isn't any, we actually create it for ourselves. This is like self-sabotage, chaos, production, going full stream. Okay, I think that is all I have for you guys tonight. I'm glad that it started working a little better. Sorry that it was cutting out. Really, I live out, in Whoville. Sometimes our internet connection isn't so great, especially when we have tons of people sucking it away. So let's just do something really cool before we go. Let's just stop resisting. So how do you get rid of that stress, right? I just want you to visualize with me, relax your shoulders, get into a beautiful place, breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, intentionally, very deliberately. Like I know when I'm working with clients and I'm trying to really focus on something beautiful, that I'm very much breathing with intention. You'll be amazed at how this clears you out. And then I just visualize that as you're breathing, you can use your hand. It even helps. Pull in beautiful energy. Pull it in with intention that you're basically letting it cycle through your body and you're sending out any negative stress, any negative vibrations out through your toes. Now, kids, the key to this is get into a state where you stop resisting. So I don't care what it is. I want you just to melt and let your body feel. If you feel pain, feel it. If you feel stress, feel it. Feel it even deeper. Breathe in again. Feel it all with intention that you're just letting it melt. This is a beautiful exercise. I have people all the time that'll say, I don't know how to meditate. I don't get it, whatever. You don't even need to. Just do this. You don't need to be out on a carpet with your crisscross applesauce doing some magical yoga thing if you don't want to. I mean, yoga is great and there is a lot to that, but this is a really easy way to do it. And I honestly just visualize I'm about to like pass out. Breathing in, letting it go. It's so beautiful. And just let yourself stop resisting. This is the beautiful, easy way to get rid of stress. If you have some, takes a little bit of practice. I know initially when I first did it, I bet you before I started energy healing, there's no way that I would have got on here and done that in front of you. I would have been like, I look like a total idiot. And now I'm like, I don't care if I look like a freaking idiot because it works. So if it brings me peace and happiness, I'll look like an idiot all day. But stop resisting. Stop resisting it and just let it go. Of course, yes, you can book a session with me and I'll help you to stop resisting and let it go. But I get it. Not everyone has that ability. So I do want to tell you before we leave that I did put on a new type of session on my website. So I really jumped into this really cool thing where I realized that I have a really great intuitive sense for medical issues. And by no means am I saying that I am a licensed medical practitioner. And if you are having an issue or a heart attack, then you need to go to the ER. However, I am telling you that I realize that I'm very intuitive when you have like a thing, you're like, oh, I have a problem with my thyroid. For being able to see if you have a hormone imbalance with your thyroid, if there's a communication issue, if it's an actual physical part of your thyroid that has an imbalance. And you know what? You were born. I even wrote that down somewhere. It was so good. Where is it? Yes, your body, God, or higher source, whatever that is for you, created your body to be an absolute miraculous healing system. All we have to do is go in your closet, Amber. That's where I go. All you have to do is allow your subconscious to tap into this beautiful healing system that God has created, that you are. Okay. And by clearing out and releasing, getting rid of those stressors, those emotions, it allows your body to heal. So, yes, I was talking about medical intuitive stuff. So I have that ability to say, ooh, I see like the left side of your thyroid has something going on. Let's muscle test for this. Now, I'm not a walking encyclopedia, so I don't know all of the ins and outs of the thyroid. But I have found that if I find a page or a diagram, that I can muscle test my way through all of it, and I can find the specific location. And when I see the word, I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. It's this part in your thyroid called a blah, blah, blah. And then I know that it's imbalanced. And simply we say to your subconscious, hey, we want to direct some beautiful healing energy to this part, the T3, T4 communication of your thyroid, and voila, beautiful things can happen for you. So I do have a new session set up, a new type of session you can do. So this is for people that are really struggling with some really serious physical issues, because if we're doing body code on you and you're like, this isn't working and I'm not getting any results, then those are my clients that I really say, okay, you need to book one of the really in-depth sessions where I do this without you and you give me permission to connect with you. And then I can super deep dive into what we're looking at. And I can, without having to talk, because talking back and forth takes lots of time, but I can literally be here. I'm not joking. Like I have anatomy books and hormone books and charts and emotions and books of healing and whatever it is. And then I actually just can say, ooh, I know that your issue is in this book. And then I muscle test the page. Oh, it's here. And then I open it up and it pops out. And it's so, so beautiful. I'm telling you, believe me, you don't have to live like that. You don't have to live with pain. You don't have to live with emotions. You don't have to live with chaos like that. Really, you don't. Lisa, 100% pain-free. And I think that's been since December now, if I recall right. It's a beautiful thing, guys. Beautiful thing in the neighborhood. Okay. I hope you have a great night. I hope you had a great, fantastic, beautiful weekend. I love to use Easter, right? Resurrection, refreshing, rebirth, whatever it is for you, the whole spring coming. You don't need a storyline. I don't know what I was talking about. Maybe I do need a story. I don't know. I don't know. So this happens. I'll be talking and then someone posts a comment, but it happens like there's a delay. And so then I have no idea what the comment is for. I don't need a storyline to hide in the closet. I don't remember what I was talking about. It's okay. December 20th, 2020. Well, I like that date. All right, guys. Love you. Have a great day. I'll see you in the morning for Sakatum at 7:15 Mountain Standard Time. If you're interested in doing a session, make sure you hop on, because I just opened up my May, and it tends to go pretty quick. And I'm actually going to send out an email to my previous clients. So yes. Have a beautiful night.